Well, hello, everyone, and welcome again to the podcast. And I'm happy for you to get to know today Lindsay Benson, who is a therapist located in the Tulsa, Oklahoma area. But Lindsay, welcome. Glad you're here.
Yeah, so good to be here. Thanks for having
Yeah,
me.
yes. And so, as I start with everyone, tell folks a little bit more about yourself and how you've landed where you've landed.
Yeah. So, like most of us, started off in community mental health out of college and did that until I was able to start my own private practice about 14 years ago. So, I've been in private practice since then. I primarily see adults and integrating lots of different modalities as we go along the way and find new trainings and new ways. So, I'm really excited and happy with the practice that I currently have. It's great.
That's great.
Mhm.
And I know you've expanded as we were talking about before we started recording, really spending a lot of time working with therapists. So, how did that come about?
Yeah. I think I just happened along it. I started working with therapists, just, one came along and I thought, wow, this is really great because they don't have to have the buy-in that other clients have to have. They already believe in
Mm-hmm.
therapy. So it allows me
Mm-hmm.
to bypass some of that. And then they've already psychoanalyzed themselves. Like, so we can
Mm-hmm.
get going a lot faster. They've already done a lot of the legwork. And so I realized that I could make headway a lot faster with them. And it was just really fun and exciting. And then therapists started sending other therapists that they knew. And before long, I've realized that about 50% of my clients are therapists. And I really enjoy working with that population. So it's
Yeah.
rewarding.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It really is. And I know even in my practice, I get somehow or another got a reputation for being a good therapist for
Yeah.
therapists. Yeah. And
Yeah.
you're right. It's a different level of doing things.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
it's very rewarding in that sense.
Yeah.
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 So tell us a little bit I know part of your story is that you were working for an agency and moved into private practice. How long have you been in private practice?
14 years.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So probably there wasn't a whole lot about private practice when you were coming along, kind of like it was for me.
Yeah.
So, how did you
Yeah.
learn what you've learned?
Yeah, yes. There wasn't very many practices at all. I learned the hard way of trying to figure out how to get credentialed with the insurance panels and trying to figure out how to do my own billing. And I did have, I had help like from agencies and places that I had worked. Some of the billing people would help me out. I would hire them to do a consultation with me and teach me some of the things I needed to know. And I would say I just know the exact bare minimum of what someone needs to know to just bill for counseling.
Right.
Um, but then I also kind of found because it was hard and there wasn't that much information, then I started doing consultation for therapists to help them build their own practices. So that was also
Mm-hmm.
something I started doing just a few years into my own practice. People would come to me and say, how did you do this? And I would say, yeah, let's sit down and help. So that's another way. I just like working with other therapists in any way that I can.
Yeah.
And I
Right.
found that was another fun thing to do.
Yeah. What would you say have been the biggest challenges for you just in private practice? I think.
Learning the insurance system because that's like a foreign language to me. And
Mm-hmm.
like I said, I know the bare minimum and I'm okay with that because I can do my job with just that bare minimum. Probably also the fact that there wasn't a lot of people doing private practice, so I didn't have a lot of peers to kind of consult with, and maybe that's why it's important that I helped other therapists along the way figure it out and do it, because it can feel so overwhelming to them when they
Mm-hmm.
think about starting out. And obviously a lot of our personalities, we don't love the paperwork, we don't love the administrative side of it. We're here because we want to help clients, and that's sometimes like two different aspects of ourselves. And
Mm-hmm.
so I feel that therapists don't have like a lot of confidence in that ability, that of
Mm-hmm.
being the planner, being the biller. And so yeah, so figuring that out and then also like helping people do that as well. But I think also just getting your name out there,
Mm-hmm.
marketing, because there wasn't
Yeah.
even really like social media 14 years
Yeah.
ago. So
Right.
I really had to build and rely on like personal relationships with different providers in town. And that's how my name really started growing. And then especially because when I started working with therapists, they're really happy to share information. And so they tell all the therapists they know. And then I'm kind of known, in my town as like the therapist for therapists. And so that
Mm-hmm.
just constantly feeds me and new clients. But that's definitely the hardest part, just figuring out the billing aspect and
Hmm.
marketing yourself.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So when you decided to accept insurance, I know
Yeah.
that's a hot topic among different
Yeah.
therapists around the country.
Yeah.
How did you decide to accept insurance versus just going totally private pay?
Yeah. I think 14 years ago, the concept of private pay was very just unheard of, kind of, because there in my town, there wasn't very many private practices at all. And so I did take insurance. I no longer do. A few years ago, I stopped taking insurance. And, but if you're starting off and you're trying to decide, it's a tough one to navigate, but insurance and all the problems that it has, it did help me have a successful practice for the first 10 years of my practice. And so
Hmm.
I don't have a lot of negativity to them. It's, yes, they need to raise their rates and it can be kind of a hassle at times, but it
Hmm.
allowed me to serve a lot of clients that probably wouldn't get therapy unless they had
Hmm.
insurance. And so I was thankful for that.
And it
Hmm.
does make it easier, I think, in terms of the whole marketing piece, because people go and look at their
Oh,
insurance and
yeah.
find out who's in network and
Oh,
all of
yeah.
that sort of thing. And so
Yes.
I know in my practice, people ask me how I do my marketing, and, knock on wood, I've had to do very little because I am
Yes.
insurance based. And you're right. You
Yes.
have to accept the fact that you're going to get a little bit lower rate, but I think it's
Hmm.
gotten a lot better over the last few years as far as
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
insurance is willing to pay for, you know,
Right.
therapy.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember for 10 years, Blue Cross Blue Shield hadn't raised their rate at all. And then they have been
Hmm.
the last year. So that's nice to see that they're raising their rates. But yeah, it helps you have a consistent practice. You're going to know that you're always going to have Psychology Today alone. People are selecting their insurance and finding you that way. No one's really clicking self-pay. So if you're
Right.
self-pay, you definitely have to have a really strong foundation of referral sources in play and
Hmm.
marketing yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of different trade-offs you have to weigh, because certainly
Yes.
you don't have to worry about all the billing and dealing with insurance
Hmm.
companies, which is time
Yeah.
consuming and that sort
Yes.
of thing. Yeah. So I know, Lindsay, you've done a lot of work with people just around, particularly therapists, around burnout and just feeling
Hmm.
overwhelmed and that sort of thing. And so
Yeah.
what are some of the things you see, and what are the things that you're learning
Yeah.
about all of that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So several years ago, when I'd already been working with therapists for a long time, I would see the same pattern that I had seen in myself, actually,
Hmm.
I'm a little bit ahead of the people that I'm turning back around and reaching my hand out to kind of help from the lessons that I've learned. And so recognizing therapists are so good at taking care of everyone else and put themselves last often. And the
Hmm.
pattern that then creates in their central nervous system, and that plays into them experiencing burnout and them not really noticing it, like not really tracking it. Maybe they notice they're tired, maybe, but they're like, oh, it's just because I didn't sleep, or oh, maybe I need to see a few less clients. But it's not just a one night sleep kind of tired. It's like a real central nervous system shut down, burnout, exhaustion, led by their desire to help people, and also impacted by the intensity of the work that we do, and
Hmm.
just the fact that our central nervous system is taking on more than it's really intended to, and we're listening to trauma for 6 to 7 hours a day. And even though
Hmm.
we figured out a way to present stable and balanced in the session, our nervous system is still taking the hit. And it doesn't matter how good of a therapist we are, that is inevitable because we are human and we all have a central nervous system. So
Right.
knowing that about myself and going on that journey for myself and how to support myself and my system, I started recognizing all these therapists that I was seeing, they needed the same information. And so because I was working with them one-on-one, I'm sharing all that information. But then I
Hmm.
recognize at a larger scope, we've got to start talking about this and doing more. So just noticing people's burnout, central nervous system response, chronic exhaustion, overwhelm, shut down. They do their 7 hours of therapy and then they can't get off the couch at the end of the day. Their quality of life isn't great. They're not really having fun. They're not really enjoying them. They're dragging themselves through their day-to-day life for the sake of being a
Hmm.
good therapist. And so, yeah, starting to, integrating that into my own work individually with them, and then expanding it to offering CEUs and other things around this topic for therapists.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
obviously, central nervous system is such a hot word. And I'm so thankful that it is. The last few
Mm-hmm.
years, it's really everywhere. And that is great. I'm excited for that because I think we all need to be more cognizant of how our own
Mm-hmm.
system is showing up in the room, because it's not just about the burnout, it's also about how well we're able to be present for our client. And they're
Yeah.
coming in and their nervous systems are completely dysregulated, and we have to hold the space and stay regulated so we can help co-regulate.
So what are you
Yeah.
finding that helps people with all of this? I mean, as far as
Yeah.
therapists and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what I encourage therapists to do is kind of come up with a daily self care plan. And through that, they need to weave in just little things, micro practices, maybe 60 seconds, 90 seconds, because let's face it, we have like 10 minutes, between each client. We don't have an abundance of time.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing this work. We're usually seeing people back to back. So, we need small things that are going to pack a big punch. So, we've come up with, okay, here's some ideas. I like to come up with lots of different, what I call like hacks for your system, and teach them, and then give them like a menu so they can kind of choose. So a lot of that is just going to be like, we do some tapping. So some of the things taken from like EFT tapping can be really helpful. 60 seconds of tapping. So, we've got different points that we can do while we're just sitting in our therapy chair. After our client has
Mm-hmm.
left, and we do 60 seconds of tapping to kind of reset the system, discharge the stress that we just took on. And then other different somatic movements that we're getting up, we're moving our body. So a lot of different techniques and strategies with it, but it's really the recognition of what's your system feel like when it's regulated? When do you notice it shift into another state in your session or between sessions? And then taking responsibility for that and doing something to help support your system with these different techniques that you can weave into your day, 90 seconds there, 2 minutes on your lunch break, all of those different things. So it's really just a continual dedication to supporting yourself while you're supporting everybody else.
Yeah, and I think it's you bring up something that I think is so true for so many of us, and I know even in my own journey, just really kind of learning this is that we are so focused on others and really
Yes.
hearing what's going on with others, and it comes
Yes.
out of a genuine desire to try to help people,
Right.
but we don't recognize the toll it takes on our own
Right.
psyche and our own, central nervous system, as you said.
Definitely.
So yeah,
Definitely.
and I
Yeah.
think, yeah, absolutely, you've got to
Hmm.
have those daily rituals and those daily
Yeah.
things that you do to kind of
Right.
help, recharge your battery.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be big things. It doesn't have to be an hour here, an hour there. Like, we don't have time for that, but it's small. I mean, we could. It's great if you make time for that, but like during the workday especially, we need things that are 1 to 2 minutes, that are really going to kind of give us a bang for our buck of like, how do I help support my system? And then also it's like starting to notice the nuance of your own system. And yeah, and it's extremely helpful when you start to integrate this into your day-to-day schedule as a therapist. Then at the end of the day, you don't feel so exhausted and worn out.
Mm.
You can then go enjoy the rest of your evening and spend it doing things you want to do, because we're accumulating it every day. It doesn't matter if we got off work and we said, wow, that day was totally fine and I feel okay. We're accumulating stress all the time. The body wasn't really meant to sit perfectly still with a smile on our face, nodding yes, while someone is unloading extreme trauma.
Hmm.
If we were listening to that from our friend or family member, we're going to respond. We're going to be emotive. Our hands are going
Hmm.
to, we might get up and go give them a hug. Like, we're going to do some kind of physical expression of that emotion. And we don't do that in our job as therapists, but the system still needs the discharge. And so that's why
Hmm.
we've got to give it outlets for the discharge, or it's accumulating, in my case, 20 years of therapy, that
Hmm.
my body's held in. And I might be cognitively saying, I'm doing great at this job, but my body is exhausted and heavy and worn out, and my nervous system is maxed out. Mhm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
in those practices, what do most people tend to find most helpful with those kind of daily practices of self-care? I
Like,
know for me, it's
yeah.
journaling, is a big one for me.
Yeah. Like, you want
Mhm.
examples of the things that we do? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So anything you can, journaling is great. Definitely movement. We have to move our bodies. Goes back to what I just mentioned. And that can be, a big workout, but really it can look like a 10-minute walk. It doesn't have to be intense. And oftentimes that's not really what the body wants, but like gentle movements. So doing some different like yoga movements between our sessions, just some like arm swings that we have, sun salutations, even just like leg lifts. So like you're standing in place and you're picking up one leg at a time because we're sitting all day long. That's
Hmm.
another aspect. We're sitting all day long. And the
Right.
psoas is what holds a lot of our fight flight energy. And so that's right there. It's like connecting our legs to our body. And so ours is typically tight. We're sitting all day long. And then if you think of like fight or flight and you think about running and it's tight. So just
Hmm.
moving that around. So different movements, different yoga positions, the tapping, like I said, we've got like the karate chop that's really easy for people
Hmm.
to do, where you're just taking the fleshy part from your pinky to down the palm of your hand and you're hitting it together and you're taking
Hmm.
deep breaths because that's helping release a lot of tension and stress in the body. So really just small
Right.
things like that. A lot of them, we have an Instagram channel that we share a lot of these things and a YouTube channel, Divine Legacy Collective. And there's tons of free videos and it's specially made for therapists. And it's
Hmm.
anything from a 4-minute video to a 15-minute video. So you can choose what you want to do because there's so much
Hmm.
information. It's hard for me to exactly
Yeah,
share, but
sure,
it's
sure,
it's
sure.
really those hacks. It's just like I have
Hmm.
60 seconds. What can I do? Hmm.
Well, I know to change
Yeah.
gears just a little bit, I know
Yeah.
one of the things that I saw from your website is you do some intensives with people.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yes.
and so,
Mhm.
yeah, and to me, that is a great use of time in that you're going to get more bang for your buck with not only therapy, but also
Mhm.
just probably a little more income by offering
Yeah.
intensives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love intensives. I have, on Fridays, I typically have like Friday open and I use that for intensives. So anywhere from 3 to 4 hours. So I'll
Hmm.
block off that window. And if the client gets tired sooner than that, like we can wrap up early. But I've found that people really love it. Right now, other than this Friday, I'm booked for the next 6 Fridays with intensives. And
Hmm.
so it was kind of surprising when I first put it on my website. I was like, I'll just throw this idea out there. But then I have more and more clients who really like to do it. And some of that is I have clients that live an hour and a half away and they don't want to come
Hmm.
every week. And so they're going to come once a month for an intensive for 4 hours. That's more, beneficial for their time. And we get a
Hmm.
month's worth of therapy done in a day. And
Right.
so, and then other clients that are really kind of in big situations, intense situations, and they just feel like an hour is not cutting it. And so they will do, 2 intensives a month. Or yesterday, someone who comes once a week and every once in a while she just wants to do an intensive. So she's like, can I get booked for an intensive soon? So it's really been surprising to me that people are taking to it so much, but I understand because we get so much accomplished. And yeah,
Hmm.
to me, it's a little bit easier than seeing 4 different clients back to back, because I'm
Right.
just working with one client for 4 hours. So I don't have to like switch gears as much. I'm really in
Hmm.
the zone and it feels nice and relaxed. Like I don't have to rush. We have plenty of time. And I think that's
Hmm.
what they like about it too, because sometimes they come in and they're like, okay, all these things. And there's so much that we do. Okay, we're doing EMDR, we're doing IFS, we're doing somatic. Like there's so many modalities that we blend in and I
Hmm.
can do it in 50 minutes. But when you have a lot longer time, it's a more relaxed experience for sure.
Right. And you
Hmm.
feel less pressure yourself because you're
Yes.
not already thinking, oh, well, I've got to get ready for the next client. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
When the last
Yeah.
10 minutes, inevitably, when someone brings up something large and you look over and you have 10 minutes left and you're like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah. And you have to
Yeah.
say, we'll get to that next week, and then
Hmm.
no, we've got plenty of time. So yeah, I've been really enjoying them and kind of
Hmm.
surprised that since adding that a few years ago that people really took it up. And that also comes in with not taking insurance allows that to happen. That's
Hmm.
really when I made that change because we can do it any way we want. Now, if you did take insurance, I'm sure you could still do an intensive and the client would just need to self-pay for the additional hours that their insurance isn't going to
Sure.
cover.
Sure.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
so you transitioned, and again, we'll get ourselves in a little tangent here, but
Yeah.
you transitioned away from accepting insurance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that
Yeah.
process like?
It was a little scary, of course. It was like a
Uh-huh.
leap of faith. Yeah. I'd been back and forth. I thought about it for a long time before I did it. And I had a lot of peers that had done it before me. So I kind of got to watch and see, okay, they made it. They made it.
Hmm.
So that was helping in my confidence. but yeah, it was just a big leap of faith. But my clients, I mean, most of my clients were able to continue with me, and the ones who needed to use their insurance, I, passed them off to other therapists. And then to my
Mhm.
surprise, I think that, people are still willing to pay the rate. I think also for me, I would say, like, if someone's thinking about doing that, I would say it's really important that you have a good referral source, that you have a good website, that you have a lot of word of mouth marketing in your area. And ideally, it's great if you have some niche areas that you like to focus on, or,
Mhm.
have several modalities that you're using, because then it makes it more justifiable as like why they should come see you and pay cash versus see this other person doing the same thing who they could pay $20 and use their insurance for. So kind of
Mhm.
like setting yourself apart, I think helps it be more successful. And
Mhm.
I have a lot of niche areas that I do, and I have a lot of different modalities that I do, and I bring in a lot of holistic stuff at this point in my practice too. So it attracts people who are interested in kind of
Mhm.
integrating several different styles of things into a therapy hour.
Yeah, and I think that's yeah, people hear on this podcast all the time the importance of creating a niche for yourself
Yeah.
and making yeah, and focusing in on that because you're going to be a whole lot happier and you're going to probably get more clients that way as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Trying to figure out who your ideal client is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure, sure.
Yeah.
Well, Lindsay, I know we've got to be mindful of our time, but tell folks about you've got a retreat coming up for therapists,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
say some things about that.
Yeah, definitely. So with the same kind of concepts in mind that we were just exploring, this retreat was born from that place. So I partner with my fellow therapist, Pam Nelson, who's also a trauma-informed yoga instructor, and we have a 3-day retreat in Oklahoma, and it's set on a beautiful space in 180 acres on this beautiful 100-year-old lodge that we're overlooking a lake. It's really serene and beautiful, and it is called the Sacred Art of Self-Preservation. And so it's all for therapists and healers to learn the things that we're talking about, how to track their own nervous system in practice, how
Hmm.
to explore what parts of them are coming up in their therapy sessions and how to soothe them, and how to lead their sessions from their own inner wisdom or highest self. And we have embodied practices. So this is not you're listening to a slideshow lecture and then that's that. You're experiencing them in real time. So there's yoga, yoga nidra, meditation, hiking. We're journaling in nature. It's a beautiful space. So we're utilizing that. We're outside a lot. We're doing somatic experiencing with the static movement and dance. And so it's really amazing. This is our second year. And most of the people from last year have signed up to come back because they said they couldn't believe that this was the EUs because it was so amazing and fun and
Hmm.
completely different than the experience that we usually have, because we're not coming to learn another technique to help our clients. We're coming to learn how to help ourselves. Yeah.
That's great. And
Yeah.
tell folks where they can find out more about that.
Yeah, divinelegacycollective.com, or you can also follow us on Instagram at Divine Legacy Collective. That's also a place where we give lots of free tips. All these different things that we're talking about are little reels and videos that we share there that you can easily use the same day that you see them.
Awesome. Awesome. And
Yeah,
we'll have links in the show notes and the show summary
yeah,
for people to get to that easily. So,
yeah,
well, Lindsay, this has been great. Thanks for the
yeah,
work you're doing. And
yeah.
hopefully we'll have another conversation before too long.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much.